Second reading, we have one, resolution number 25-R-103. A resolution condemning councilperson Scott J. Marn for gross misconduct and violation of his oath of office and requesting that he submit his resignation. I think it's appropriate that I read this whole entire resolution so that everybody can get a sense of what's in it. It's a little long, so bear with me. I'm going to begin. Whereas, upon assuming the office of councilperson of the City of Mentor, each member of council takes the following oath of office. I solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and the state of Ohio. That I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of the Municipality of Mentor and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of councilperson. That is found in Charter Section 8.05. Whereas this oath to support our Constitution means in its entirety, not select parts, and to do so unequivocally at all times, under all circumstances, and for all persons for whom its protections are integral to the very fabric of this nation. Whereas when an elected official engages in conduct antithetical to our constitutional principles and values, it is incumbent on all persons of conscience to speak out. Whereas while we recognize the First Amendment provides protection for expressive conduct, civil society justifiably recognizes as vulgar, offensive, even abhorrent by any objective measure. It also provides no insulation from condemnation. Whereas it is in these principles in mind that the Council undertakes review of various actions of Councilperson Scott J. Marn on September 7, 2024. On this date, a group of persons gathered at the city-owned Mentor Marina for an event not sanctioned by the City of Mentor, which they titled a Pimps and Hoes Party. Councilperson Marn was amongst those in attendance and an active participant in the event. The event consisted of many persons in attendance dressing to various individual degrees in a manner associated with stereotypes related to prostitution. Indeed, the name of the event itself is one associated with negative stereotypes unfairly, even cruelly, directed at groups of our fellow citizens. Public posts to social media more than adequately convey what occurred at this event. Tone deaf at best to the stereotypes it sadly embraced and to the toll illegal prostitution has on its victims, while at its worst embracing for humor those same stereotypes and ills. It never should have occurred on public property, as that gave it the appearance of a governmentally sanctioned event. It is in this light that Councilperson Marn's attendance and participation raises questions about his judgment and fitness for office. Later that day, on September 7th, at approximately 9:15 p.m., Councilperson Marn arrived at a tavern located on Diamond Center Drive within the city. The events that occurred at this location became the subject of a recently concluded criminal case of felonious assault. This council, indeed all of city government, was and remains prohibited from releasing various details due to both to ensuring that the accused due process rights were protected, as well as to comply with the victims' rights afforded by the Ohio Constitution and statutory law known as Marcy's Law. The following discussion is therefore taken solely from the publicly disclosed information provided by Councilperson Marn to local television station WEWS, and which was included in its news broadcast of February 8, 2025. That Councilperson Marn was the victim of a felonious assault on this date is a matter now resolved by the courts, and nothing herein is or should be interpreted as excusing criminal conduct, nor an argument against the rights afforded victims in such cases. it is the sole providence of our courts to adjudicate these legal matters. This council concerns itself solely with matters within its purview. In this case, a specific exchange that occurred during the incident between Councilperson Marn and the accused. While words are being exchanged during their confrontation, Councilperson Marn reports that he was accused of saying the N-word. He denies having done so. However, during the course of this incident, and in direct response to that accusation, Councilperson Marn admits that he stated to the other person that he was acting like one. Whereas this council will not split hairs, that he used, by his admission, a racist characterization of an N and applied it to describe another person's conduct is enough for condemnation. But his words went further. These words express a belief that an entire group of persons may be referred to in a manner universally recognized to be racist. That is intolerable. Whereas Councilperson Marn attended the Pimps and Hoes party, as he was free to do, likewise Councilperson Marn, in the midst of a confrontation later that day, was free to speak in the manner he admits. He is not free from criticism, condemnation, and the questioning of his fitness for office as a consequence of these words and action. Council now does so. Whereas we are each limited by the sum of our life experiences in being able to truly understand what others have to endure. In that respect, we owe to one another the simple human courtesy to listen with an open mind, to react with empathy, recognize their dignity and worth, to effect positive change whenever we can, and to do no harm of our own accord. Whereas certain words which carry the weight of past and current evils are not spoken but only alluded to, as we have done here so, out of respect and understanding of what those words mean and the harm they cause. It is not self-censorship. It is a recognition that our fellow citizens, that dark chapters in this nation's histories are not forgotten, that they ripple through time to the present, and that we as individuals will not perpetuate nor tolerate bigotry or racism by virtue of their use. To those who would attempt to defend such language, yes, we can all recognize the First Amendment affords persons the freedom to say such words. But we are also free in the exercise of our humanity to refrain from their use. Reasonable people may question what lies in the hearts and minds of those who would use such language. And when those persons are public officials sworn to defend our constitutions and laws, such questions demand answers and accountability. Whereas elected officials hold considerable authority, they also hold the public trust. Both require that they act at all times in accordance with constitutional guarantees that afford all persons equal protection under the law. Councilperson Marn's behavior undermines and leaves open to discussion whether he has the capacity and the fitness to abide by his oath of office and act only in the furtherance of the laws and the Constitution. As to these questions, in accordance with Section 3.14 of the Charter, Council does not now answer. It does now with regret, but absolute resolve condemn these words and actions and call upon Councilperson Marn to resign from office. So to end this, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mentor, County of Lake, State of Ohio, that Councilperson, Section 1, that Council does hereby condemn Councilperson Scot J. Marn for his behavior on September 7, 2024 as detailed in the preamble. Section 2, Council calls upon Councilperson Scot J. Marn to resign from his office for the reasons detailed in the preamble hereto and for good of the community. Section 3, Council directs the City Manager to undertake a full review of policies and regulations that led to persons holding an unsanctioned event at the Menor Marina on September 7th, 2024, and to timely report to council regarding his conclusions and recommendations to prevent such unsanctioned events from occurring in the future. Section 4, it is found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were an open meeting of this council, and all deliberations of this council and any of the committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. And lastly, Section 5, that this resolution shall take effect at the earliest time provided by law. That concludes the contents of the resolution. We do have people here wishing to speak on this resolution. First person is Haley Holden. Is she here? Would you like to come up to the podium? Name, address, 4 minutes.
Haley Holden, 1 Laverne Lane, Charlotte, Ohio. I'm not looking to personally attack anyone, I'm just stating facts. A narcissist is a person who has an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. Scot Marn refuses to step down because he thrives off the power he believes sitting up there gives him. He believes he did nothing wrong but issued an apology and agreed to taking a biased training class. On February 18th, Scot said, "And then I finally said what I shouldn't have said." So what did you say? His wife admitted to him saying the N-word, so either he's lying or she has a vendetta against him. Scot intentionally let the people speak first last time so nobody could contradict his lies, even though he does that on his own. His story sounded like a bad romance novel. He stated they stopped to look at the sunset. This incident occurred at 9:16 p.m. according to security cameras. The sun had set that evening at 7:47 p.m. He claims he heard a red car start up. The car was already started and behind the building, so how could you hear it and see the color? Then he saw Wendy fly over the car, threw her over his shoulder, and then they both picked themselves up off the ground. I've personally seen the footage and have it with me. Nobody was hit with the car and nobody had to pick themselves up from the ground. Tony stopped the car and Scot walked right to the window, verbally attacking Tony. I would be more than happy to continue dissecting his lies, but we all heard the same story. We all saw the sick smirk on his face, a smirk no true victim would have. As a representative of this city, Scot holds a position of trust and responsibility. His actions reflect not only on himself, but also on the integrity of the council as a whole. The use of racial slurs perpetuates discrimination, fosters division, and undermines the progress made toward building a diverse and harmonious community. Allowing such behavior to go unchecked sends a dangerous message that prejudice and bigotry have a place in our leadership. This is not the example we want to set for future generations, nor is it the standard we should accept from those in positions of power. Scot made it seem acceptable to assault and degrade someone because of their criminal past. He went as far as having Ken Jevnikar read word for word what the prosecutor said during Tony's sentencing, even though Ken has his own criminal history, such as a domestic battery charge.
Ms. Holden, we're going to stick just to this topic and not speak about other people, okay?
Okay. Scot did this to try and take away from the fact that he is a racist sitting upon the council. Not only is he racist, he also uses his position to harass and degrade women.
Ms. Holland, let's not go to any conclusions. No personal attacks.
It's 2025. Women and people of color are no longer property of men. Council, I urge you to take this decisive action by removing Scot Marn from his position. Stand up for the people of Menor. The step is necessary to reaffirm our commitment to justice and equality and to demonstrate that hate speech has no place in this city.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is Jean King. If you'd like to come up to the podium. Name, address, 4 minutes.
Jean King, 8447 Trimble Court, Mentor. I've lived in Mentor about 10 years, so I missed the big shakeup in 2011 when 2 city council members were unseated. One was on council 34 years and the other 18. Until recently, when some disturbing events involving city council came to light, we Mennerites were lulled into dangerous complacency. But now, Menor City Council is in the limelight, and it's very embarrassing. We have serious accusations of sexual harassment and racism. In my past careers as a Columbus police officer and an RN working with the disease of addiction, I have witnessed a great deal of bad behavior. It is difficult to hear about a long history of dysfunction and disruption caused by a city council member. Acting out at his kids' hockey games while obnoxiously intoxicated, being involved in a pimps and hoes party, I'll never understand that one, held on public city property, multiple accusations of sexual harassment, racism. Reading the list would use up my 4 minutes. We will never know what truly happened, but there seems to be a theme here of poor judgment. One thing we can be pretty sure about is the use of the N-word. His wife was caught on police body cam admitting he used the N-word. At first, there were serious discussions, the promise to take classes, some show of acknowledgement a mistake was made, but all too quickly, the humble rhetoric turned into, "I did nothing wrong." Yet another refusal to take responsibility for his own actions. Then there is the serious issue of the multiple reports of sexual harassment. There are so many negative consequences for the victims, the co-workers, and the city of Menor as a whole. His previous day job employer realized this and actually changed the locks on their doors to keep him out. We know that one bad apple spoils the whole barrel. Until he gets help, these disruptive behaviors will continue and even escalate. The great mystery to all of us is this: why do you continue to cover for him? Often we find there is a certain camaraderie among people with alcohol use disorder. Sometimes people who are bullies manage to get away with bad behaviors. Is there fear that what happened in Vegas may not stay in Vegas? Whatever the reason, it's your responsibility to handle this situation. But sometimes organizations just get too cozy together in their dysfunction, and they refuse to make the necessary changes. If you don't, we, the people of Menor, will need to step in. One viable option we are considering is term limits. Term limits are very popular. In fact, most polls indicate 80% of people are in favor of term limits. Not sure exactly how long a Menor City Council term should be, but I am sure it isn't going to be 25 years. The median age of a Menor resident is about 46 years old. The median age of a Menor City Council member is about 65. You probably do need to drain the swamp. We urge you to take the first little tiny step in doing the right thing.
Thank you.